How's everybody doing? Welcome back to another episode of Bridging the Gap here on the Jersey First TV network. As always, I'm AJ Malillo.
And I'm Stephen Rambola.
And Steve and we have an awesome guest today. We're going to have a great interview for everybody, but we've been talking about this issue a lot. You can see down on the screen there. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and what the government is doing with this emerging technology. And we're going to specifically talk about two bills that are right now going through our House of Representatives. That's H.R. Bill 3106, which is Preventing Deepfakes of Intimate Images Act, and H.R. 6466, the AI Labeling Act. And we are lucky enough to be joined by the author of H.R. 6466 and a New Jersey congressman in the New Jersey 7th District, Mr. Tom Kean. H.R. 6466 is known as the AI Labeling Act, and basically just a quick, we'll go further into it, Steve, but just so that the people are aware quickly, the basic gist of the bill is to make it so that AI generated content is clear. People know what it is. People have an understanding that they are looking at AI generated content. And HR Bill 3106 is going to be an add-on to the Violence Against Women Act, Reauthorization Act of 2022. And it's basically saying that if these images are not consented to by those that they depict, then there could be civil and even criminal consequences for those actions. And Stephen, you're going to introduce the congressman, and then we'll have him come in and we'll start talking to him.
Absolutely. So this is, we have a bit of New Jersey. I don't want to say like legend, but I think the word's appropriate. So Congressman Tom Kean Jr. He's been serving in the New Jersey General Assembly, the state Senate, and he served for 14 years as a Senate Republican leader in the state legislature. Strong voice for affordability, improving the quality of K through 12 education, which AJ, again, you and I and the listeners know is something we're passionate about. And he loves protecting New Jerseyans' freedoms, which again, something we can all get behind. In 2022, he defeated Congressman Tom Malinowski, flipped New Jersey's 7th congressional district, and at the time he was just one of 5 Republicans to defeat a Democrat incumbent in the entire country. So an incredible showing for New Jersey's 7th district. 7th district comprises parts of Union, Somerset, Morris, and Sussex counties, all of Hunterdon and Warren counties, and it spans from the Arthur Kill to the Delaware, has 95 towns within it. So a lot of people in this jurisdiction, and I think a pretty resounding referendum. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. In 2022. So Congressman Kean right now, he serves on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Science, Space, and Technology Committees, and the Foreign Affairs Committee, where he serves as the chairman of the Subcommittee on Europe. And AJ, on behalf of Jersey First, we are so excited to have you here with us. Thanks for joining us today, Congressman.
Great. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Stephen, for inviting me on this show. And thank you for the great work that you do.
Well, thank you for the great work that you're doing. We're super excited to have you on with us, Congressman. We don't have too much time, so let's just get right into it. First of all, you have been at the forefront of bills around AI, and that's something that Stephen and I are very, very passionate about, especially being Gen Zers. This is something that is affecting our future directly. So can you just tell us a little bit about the bill you co-sponsored, HR 3106, the Preventing Deepfakes and Intimate Images Act?
Yeah, certainly. I got a call one afternoon from a constituent of mine, actually a neighbor in Westfield, who told me the horrific story of what had happened to her daughter and 30 to 60 of her daughter's friends in the Westfield High School, where there was a false image that was generated by a peer that impacted those children, and there were no rules, no consequences that exist because of it. And so she told this parent told me about a bill that had been introduced by Congressman Morale, who's not only across the river but across the aisle as well. So I made sure that we had a bipartisan approach as we go to AI, so we can have the best and strongest legal frameworks. So if a person is attacked in this way, there are both legal consequences, and then we can also go after the platforms, which is the next stage of this approach, so that people understand very clearly that there are consequences if you're violating others' images and others' rights as well. And so we're working to make sure that this is a bipartisan approach, because the issue of AI is changing so dramatically every day.
It's incredible. And I know you mentioned this is a bipartisan issue, and I think that's pretty clear on its face. So I'm curious, in your opinion, how do you think that we can all work together to prevent others from experiencing what, the constituent that you had just shared her experiences? And I know this is in popular media because they had AI images of Taylor Swift similarly that kind of struck headlines. So I guess the bigger question is, why should people care about AI and deepfake, like intimate images, and the impact that it's going to have on our generations moving forward?
Well, that's the first approach is the bill that I introduced that basically for the first time sets guardrails on these types of images, and so you can make sure you protect the children and those individuals who are right now under assault. So that right now it was not clear at all in the original generation of the AI that they were artificially generated, and so whether it's having embedded code or these watermarks that would be on each of these images, so people would know that they were artificially generated in the first place. And so having that under that legal frameworks and those protections as we're protecting people, because if you look at the people who are the victims, it's 90% are women, and having these types of legal guardrails, and then in the first piece of legislation also the legal recourse for when these online attacks happen, is extraordinarily important to protecting our children, protecting our communities, and ensuring that we have a bipartisan approach that ensures that it passes the House and then the next level, then the Senate to get to the president's desk. And we all have the common ground of making sure that as our society and our country goes forward, that our students or A-list celebrities are both protected from online these types of online images.
Absolutely, Congressman. And I think, another sad story just came out of California, out of Beverly Hills High School. It was a very similar scenario as to what happened here in New Jersey. So hopefully, congressmen and women from all 50 states can jump on and support this legislation, because it's happening all over our country.
And AI is changing every day, whether it's in the online shopping or call centers or a number of other venues. It's extraordinarily important that the United States lead the way in a moral and an ethical way, but that also protects the people who are creating the type of technology so we can be on the leading edge of the technology, but also we make sure that we're on the leading edge of the protection at the exact same time.
And absolutely, and I just wanted to you had mentioned something, and I wanted to know if you could go into it a little bit. You had said this is the first step in this type of legislation. The next step might be going after these social media companies themselves, where the distribution happens. Can you get into a little bit about plans for that?
Well, certainly. There's are a couple people working again on a bipartisan basis to create the best possible solution so that these platforms who are actually not tackling this issue at all and being passive in many instances and allowing this to happen, so they have enough, so they will be held accountable if they continue to allow these types of images and these types of products to continue unfettered. It's extraordinarily important that we get the liability protections, that we get the new guardrails so people know it's artificially generated, that we go after the platforms as well that are allowing these images to continue. So it's a holistic approach that, in the end of the day, protects our society, protects our families, protects the students, and so that we can actually have most robust rules, as well as making sure that people are protected throughout this process.
I think it's a very positive step forward, and I'll certainly say personally, I'm very happy that you're New Jersey congressman, and I take a lot of pride in our state and that we are leading the charge on this issue. So another question, a little bit, shifting gears now. I'm curious, you've been in public office since 2001. I want to know what has driven you to continuously serve in this public role for so long, despite the pressure that comes with it. And furthermore, how, what sense does it fill you with to tackle issues as important as the ones we're talking about today?
Well, there is no other profession that gives you the opportunity to wake up every day with the opportunity to make a difference in somebody else's life at every level of government. And that's humbling. And the people who are working with me and we're trying to tackle these issues, whether it was on the state level or now on the federal level, I'm honored and humbled by the people I meet every day, not only in this district but across this country, and understanding how to help them and to create the connections, whether it's a piece of legislation on innovation or education or solving their individual problem that they're facing, or now on the federal level, whether you're helping a veteran or solving an AI solution that is happening each and every day, is changing. It's very exciting and humbling to be able to work to help find the solutions, and I love every day of the job.
And we thank you for, continuing your public service. Obviously, this is in your blood. Your father was the governor of the great state, and you continued in his footsteps. So truly not only want to thank you, but your whole family, because as you know, when you jump into public life, the whole family has to bear sort of the brunt of that. So I know your family is important to you. If you want to just talk a little bit about that, because we want to thank them too, and talk a little bit about what they do.
My wife, I couldn't do this job without the support of my wonderful wife, Rhonda, and our two daughters, both who are in college right now. And I just want to thank them every day for allowing me and being the huge and incredibly important partners to accomplish and allowing me to accomplish this.
Absolutely. And look, we want to be respectful of your time, but we do have some 3 quick fun questions if you want to answer them. It really gets the people of New Jersey to know their congressman, we think, with these questions. So Stephen, you want to start us off?
Yeah, this is my personal favorite. I have a lot invested in this one, and I know it's contentious. So the question is, you're getting in the car, you're going for a drive. Are you putting on Bruce Springsteen or Bon Jovi?
Bruce.
You're Stephen's favorite answer already.
That's the best answer.
Simple, direct.
There you go. I like it. So now you're on that same trip. You got Bruce Springsteen on the radio, but you're traveling across country. You're going Jersey to California, right? You can bring one person, dead or alive, doesn't matter. Who are you bringing and why?
Yeah. Well, my wife Rhonda, we actually drove across the country shortly after we were married, and so be able to recreate that trip and see how the country has stayed the same, see how it's changed, but also to be able to spend that time with my wife Rhonda would be extraordinarily important to me.
Incredible. Now, this last one, this might ruffle some feathers depending on how we answer it, and I think I know where you might lie on this one, but this is the age-old question for all New Jerseyans. Is it pork roll or Taylor ham, Congressman?
Well, north of the Driscoll Bridge, it's Taylor ham.
To be fair, that was a very good answer, because you notice how he said north of the bridge, but Steve and I are South Jersey guys, so we're a pork roll all the way.
I humbly disagree with your assertion in that regard.
Fair enough. And you know what? I know I said 3, but I do have one more. Recently, Central Jersey has been officially issued as part of the state. What's your take on that? Do you think that Central Jersey is real, or do we just got North and South?
I think that's an issue that is best handled on the state level.
Fair enough. Well, Congressman, thank you so much. If you have anything else that you'd like to say or add, please do so now. And we're gonna tell the people, if they're interested in your work and anything like that, they can check you out at Congressman Kean. But if not, what do you want the people to know in your last final message?
I just want to thank you both, and thank you for your great work and your great insights and wisdom. You both can be great attorneys, that I can tell already, and we need to have you in New Jersey. Thank you all for being here, and stay safe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you, Congressman.
So that was our interview with Congressman Tom Kean. It was awesome to talk with him, Stephen. I think that we learned a lot, and that this is just the first steps that our Congress is taking on these issues, I think, is my biggest takeaway. He illustrated that it seems like they have a clear plan, right? They're going to start with things like making sure that this deepfake pornography is treated the same as any other sort of revenge porn. And then, so there's going to be criminal and civil consequences to those actions. And the first step in doing that is making sure that you're looking at AI generated images. And then from that, then you're going to take on the social media companies. And I think that that's a solid plan. And it looks really good for our Congress to be taking these steps, because a lot of times we say, and we say that on the show all the time, Stephen, like legislation always lags behind technology, but they're really trying to get ahead of it this time.
Yes, I would actually echo that exact same sentiment. I think what I was really proud and happy to hear, like you said, is this, multi-step process. It's very clearly laid out. They have a direction. And I really do appreciate that he mentioned that they're also going to look at the people and the platforms that publish these things. And I know that that has been for years at this point, the source of a lot of legal battles, political discussions about how do we hold, these social media platforms accountable for the things that happen on their site. Bigger question, should they even be held accountable? So it's obviously a very layered and nuanced issue. But again, to see that initiative, I think shows that there's a clear path forward. This is something that they're going to take seriously. And just worth mentioning, I think there's evidence of this all over the government. So we have these bills that exist. A few months ago, the Biden administration actually put out a Bill of Rights that they assembled. It's like a blueprint for a Bill of Rights that espouses all these points on what they believe is important to protect with AI and data use. And so to see it coming from all levels of government, I think what's so impressive about Congressman Kean is that, like he said, this journey really started for him in the state level. He wins this position. He's now a congressman. He's working at this federal level. And so I appreciate the clear vision and ambition to go ahead and tackle this issue that I think is going to be on the forefront of a lot of things. Not just necessarily law, but it touches every aspect of life. And it clearly needs to have the government hand in regulation and making sure that everybody's safe, secure, and their privacy and images are protected. So I was happy to hear everything that the congressman talked about today.
No, absolutely. And I think another important thing to talk about, and obviously we've looked at this through that lens of the deepfake porn, but like deepfakes in general are really going to be an issue. Like, how can you trust what you're seeing, reading, hearing, even? And so I think that's what's so important about Congressman Kane's bill itself, the one that he authored, because it's saying like you have to tell people that this is AI generated. You can't just have it out there on the internet and act like it's really a video of Joe Rogan saying whatever it is, or President Trump saying whatever, or Biden saying whatever. Like an actual concrete, you need to show us in some way that this is AI generated, or else you're going to see civil or criminal liability.
Yeah, and I think on that too, I'm doing some research in preparation for this. I came across something that was published actually earlier this month from the New Jersey Supreme Court. The Chief Justice on the New Jersey Supreme Court authored this little notice to the ball, and it was all about how AI is implemented in terms of the legal field. And I've also heard this from professors where people are, at least in our profession, and this is ready and relevant to us, so I can make this connection here, but they're using AI to generate arguments, and they're submitting them to the court. And the New Jersey Supreme Court wrote that they received briefs that had made up cases in them. And so I think by having this, well, I'm going to call it like an accountability tag. When you use AI to create something, you got to throw that on there. This way, anybody who's reading it knows, hey, the reliability of this information now is kind of in question, because it's been known to have all of these issues, as we've recently seen within the past week that we're recording this, issues with discrimination and the way that it prompts users and the answers that it puts out. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And I agree with you. I think it's really important in all aspects that AI is used, whether it's, written submissions, answers to questions, videos, all of those things, to know that what you're dealing with is something that was generated by artificial intelligence. And so the accuracy of it should really be called into question before you take what you're reading, seeing, or hearing for what it's worth.
And I would also just like to point out something else that the congressman talked about, and something that, Stephen, maybe you and I can do a little bit more deep dives into in later episodes, because I think this is going to be a super, super interesting cross section of law, because he talked about going after the platforms that distribute these AI, and that's going to cause a lot of issues with Section 230 and free speech law and so on and so forth. And I think that I personally, my opinion is that the congressman saying like, "Look, these platforms are responsible," is correct, and I think that that's the right tact to do it. Now, the question is how to do that legally properly, and I think Stephen, we should talk more about this, and maybe we could do another uh, interview with an expert in Section 230 law, because if you don't know, Section 230 protects these social media companies and websites from uh, civil complaints and criminal complaints for content that is published on their platform, because they're not technically considered publishers, they're considered platforms, but there's a lot of workarounds because they're allowed to remove content and things like that. So I would say that live by the legislation, die by the legislation, so to speak. And if Congress can pass this as sort of an amendment to Section 230, or a separate piece of legislation separate from Section 230, it's going to put a lot more onus on your X's and your Facebooks and your TikToks and your whatnot. And I think that's a good thing. I think we should be looking at these companies for taking a role in the content that is on their platform, especially if they have these, ethics boards and these, removal boards already.
I would agree with you, and especially considering that these social media platforms are, whether it's for better or worse, the way that a lot of people receive and exchange information, news. There is also that added, and this is kind of goes to the whole theme of this, disinformation, and really protecting the public from receiving, I want to say, like, maliciously designed information, things that are designed to persuade one way or the other and shift public opinions. It's almost like a great tool for a culture war. And so, again, I think holding everybody accountable at all levels to make sure that the information that the people get is accurate, unadulterated, and as true can be, is the most important fight that we could fight when we look at the AI revolution that's happening right now.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, and I think it's beautiful that we're having bipartisan action, not just discussion, but actual concrete action on these issues. Hopefully, these bills that are currently going through, making their way through our House, make it that way, picked up by the Senate, and signed by President Biden on his desk, and hopefully it happens soon, because I don't know, we talk a lot about, in the media realm, Congress sort of being slow to act, abdicating responsibility, so on and so forth. And on an issue that we're seeing real time, real life impacts, them actually stepping up and doing something should be commended. When I think that we too often, in life in general and in the media, we too often say we want our elected officials, we want our even significant others to do something, right? And then when they do what we want them to do, we don't reward it. We kind of just say like, "Oh, you should have been doing that all along." Well, no, if you want something to continue, you should reward it. So these congressmen and women that are stepping up, that are making actual concrete change that we want to see, we should reward them for it. We should thank them for it. So I'm going to say thank you again to Congressman Kean for coming on, explaining what's going on in this issue with us, giving us his time. That was very, very gracious of him. And thank you to all the other congressmen and women that are co-sponsoring these bills, signing on to these bills. You're doing the right thing. And I think that history is going to look upon these people fondly for this type of bill.
Brief thoughts on that. I would agree with you. I think politics is really interesting in that way, where, and you and I are as guilty of it as anybody else, where you look at what's going on and you say, this isn't why you're here. This isn't why we sent you. This isn't what you said you would do. It's a dereliction of your duty. Whatever, terms of art we want to use to essentially say that we're not happy with the job that these people are doing. But Congressman Kean, I can tell you, is not a guy that drags his feet. Very obviously, the people of New Jersey should be happy to be represented by him, have him advocating for these issues on behalf of all of the people in this country, not just New Jersey, as much as, like he said, and we say all the time, we're New Jersey people to the core, but this does touch the lives of everybody in this country. So I agree, when the people that are supposed to be working on behalf of us are doing so, and they're doing so really well, they deserve the recognition, they deserve the applaud, and they deserve the support of the people that put them there in the first place. So again, couldn't be happier and more gracious for Congressman Kean, his time, his initiatives, his efforts, and his relentless dedication to public service.
Absolutely. And with that, that's going to be the episode of Bridging the Gap for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you all next week. And for Jersey First TV and Bridging the Gap, I'm AJ Malillo.
I'm Stephen Rombolo.
We hope you have a wonderful week, everyone.